everyone, this is Marty with SurvivingTN, and today we're going to do something a little different. Rather than talking about the pain in my head, we're going to talk about making some salsa. And everyone tells me that my salsa is delicious, so I'm going to share that recipe with you, and hopefully you too can make some very delicious salsa. First I wanted to go over some of the ingredients. We've got fresh tomatoes. One of the things that's very important that I've found is I really don't care for the hothouse tomatoes. The hothouse tomatoes, when I'm making the salsa, become very mushy, and it makes the wrong consistency of the salsa, because the consistency of salsa is very important to me. I'm not much of a pico de gallo person. I like not a runny salsa, a little bit of thickness to it. So these are regular large tomatoes. I use usually 4 to 5 tomatoes. I've got a white onion here that I've kind of pre-cut. Head cilantro. I've got 6 Serrano chilies and 2 Habanero chilies. A lot of salsas make with jalapenos. I myself don't like the flavor of jalapenos, particularly in salsa. I like it in other things, but not in salsa. So Serranos are my favorite choice. I also have a can of S&W Petite Cut tomatoes, and I will show you why I am using that in conjunction with all these fresh veggies in a little while. Garlic, salt and pepper, and a Ninja to make sure everything is done, because I do not want to cut this by hand. So I'm going to get this finished, getting this set up, and I will be right back with you. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut this onion. It's not a tomato, those are tomatoes. Just a few pieces. Put it in my Ninja. And we're going to, if I can get this to work right, turn it on just pulse. And one of the reasons, rather than just keeping it going, is you really want it, it's all about, again, for me, is consistency. Just a few dabs is all it takes. That should get most of it, yep. So then I am going to pour it into my handy dandy Pampered Chef bowl, which incidentally keeps my salsa nice and fresh for well over a week. And one of the reasons I do the onions first is because I don't like to sit here and get every one of them out, and the tomatoes kind of do that job for me. So putting that back on, moving that out of the way. And so I've already cleaned a couple of these tomatoes, so I'm just gonna, what I do with these is cut them in half, put them in. I usually put 2 to 2.5 in on each time I use the machine, just to make sure, again, the consistency is correct. You don't want to get too many in there, then they won't get chopped up the right way. Again, pulsing it. So if you can see in there, this is kind of what the consistency I'm looking at. There's still a little bit of chunks in there, but there's a lot of juice as well. So that goes in there. We're going to do the same, another round of tomatoes. All right, got that back to the right consistency again. And you can see in there, so we've got still not quite enough juicy for my liking, so you'll see what happens here in a little bit. Oh, one of the things I forgot to mention earlier is also very important, a lime. So the next thing that I'm going to put in here is the peppers. So this is a big decision that you have to make on depending on how hot you want the salsa. As I mentioned, I'm using 6 Serrano peppers. They're pretty long, and 2 habaneros. If you don't like it as hot, you can use less. One of the other things is these have seeds in them. So depending on your heat level, you can rinse them off after you've cut them and get rid of some of those seeds. That cuts down the temperature. Myself, I kind of like it hot, so I leave most of them in there. I actually used to sell my salsa at a number of places over in Portland when I used to live there, and as well as my homemade spaghetti sauce, until one day I was carrying a whole load of salsa and delivering it, and I dropped it and spilt the whole load everywhere, and I decided that that was enough making salsa professionally for me, so now I just make it for myself, family, and friends. So, got to be careful with this guy. Extremely hot. You don't want to get too much of these guys in there. Definitely not the seeds. Okay, cilantro. I love cilantro. Most people either love it or don't care for it. One of the things they don't like is it get caught in their teeth. You'll notice the way I'm doing this is going to leave some stems in it, but as long as I don't get the real big thick stems, I'm not too worried about it. They all chop up real fine and they're still flavorful. So in this bowl, so right now we've got 6 of the Serrano chilies, 2 habaneros, about 3/4 of a head of cilantro in there, and now what I'm putting in there is those petite tomatoes. And normally, under normal situation, S&W makes a flavor that is garlic and sweet onion, I believe it is. And that adds actually a little extra flavor to it, which I kind of like. But since we are on limited supplies in grocery stores, we're just going to go with regular today. So I add these in there because this, I really want to blend up the cilantro and the peppers to make sure that they're really blended hard, and that so nobody has to complain about getting the cilantro in their teeth, and also get those peppers cut very finely. So this, I actually just put it on and let it run. Looking good. That's the end of the use for that. Put this in here, you can see the inside of what that consistency looks like. So it's very well mixed together. So, add that in. And you can see it's almost like a paste, the way it comes out. There are still, you'll see occasional slice of pepper here or there, and that's okay because I like those, and put them right onto a shell and eat them. Tortilla chip. Then you're going to take this lime and we're going to use the whole thing. Cuts the heat, I think, a little bit. It just gives it a flavor. So that's what we're looking at. I'm going to start mixing that thing up there. So, garlic salt. Gotta have garlic salt. So, I just pour about that much in. No measurement, just shake it. This is pepper. So I'm actually gonna get some smaller black ground pepper. And again, just a few shakes of the pepper because it's already got enough heat in it, simply for taste. Add extra salt. Because I think this and watermelon is about the only thing I salt. So, Marty's famous salsa. Let me get a chip. Oh, gotta have a chip for a sample, right? I'll be right back. Tostitos scoops. Let me give her a shot. Oh yeah, that's got some heat to it. Oh, that is delicious, and it has a bite today. One of the things about chili peppers, Serrano chilies, habaneros, you really never know exactly how hot they're gonna be. I mean, one from the next can have quite a bit of difference. And since I left the majority of the seeds on these, this is gonna be warm. Again, you can see it's got some chunks in there, but yet it's saucy enough and liquidy enough. That's delicious. All right, so after making the salsa, we decided that we really wanted some homemade chips to go with that. So looked in the fridge, found about, I don't know, a dozen or so Carrero chips sitting here, or tortilla chips. These are white corn tortilla chips, I believe. So we're making homemade chips. So I am going to cut this like a pie or a pizza, just like that. And now I'm going to be taking those over and deep frying them in oil. I've got about 1 inch oil covered in the bottom of my pan. I'm just going to toss them in there. It takes about 30 seconds to cook. Then we'll salt them and then try those. And I'll show you how that goes. Looks like Doobie's making an appearance. He must be a little camera shy right now. Doobs! Alright, we're going to retest the oil. You can see down there it's starting to fizz as I drop that in there. So now I'm just going to start tossing. You don't want to get too many in there so it can't get cooked. Obviously, if you put more oil in there, you could cook more at the same time or add a bigger pan, but this is what's going to work for us. So I put them on here, and then you're going to want to flip them. Make sure that you get both sides. And I don't know if you've ever had homemade tortilla chips before, but it is night and day as compared to what you get in the stores. One of the things I've found that with my neuralgia in my head is that cooking kind of keeps my brain preoccupied, and it's something that I enjoy to do, so it tends to make me feel a little better. One of the things we've all had with this virus is having to stay home so much. Trying to keep ourselves entertained by doing some extra cooking is definitely better for our health rather than eating a bunch of store-bought or fast food delivery. Throw a little salt on those real quick. And that's how you make homemade tortilla chips. Corn chips. It's that simple, and you'll see that they're nice crunch to them. It does take a bit. It's an effort to make these, but it is definitely well worth the flavor and the taste. If it's healthier than maybe eating some baked chips, but you know, Cinco de Mayo is coming up and got to splurge. Ooh, that good grease is getting good and hot now. You can see how the second batch came out a little crispier. Ooh, that is looking delicious right there. That's mine. We'll put that aside. A lot of the times you can kind of tell when they're done by they kind of stop fizzing. I like to get that salt on there as soon as I can afterwards so that it sticks to that grease. That oil is good and hot now. We are cooking quickly. I believe my son who produces these will be getting stove cleanup duty since he especially requested these chips. That's my wonderful head. Are getting just a little dark, but I will still eat them because I still like them that way. And you guys will notice that my hair is getting long. I have not had a haircut since the virus started. I have been staying pretty much quarantined. Given that I've had 2 brain surgeries in the last 6 months. So, trying to be careful, trying not to get out in the public. It does get old. This is the last batch. All right. We have a fresh batch of corn tortilla chips. Now, you know I am dying to try these, even though they're nice and warm, nice and hot. I'll take this dark one. Oh yeah. The flavor. I'm so excited. I have to tell you, there's such a difference in making your own chips. You saw how easy and quick that was. Salsa didn't take very long. Of course, I did use a Ninja. It does speed things up. If you're hand chopping this stuff, you can make pico de gallo the best. You really need a food processor to get it to this consistency. And again, I think this consistency is kind of what helps make the salsa. The flavor is tremendous. Try some homemade chips if you've never made them. So that's it for today. I wanted to thank you all for visiting. If you like what you've seen, please give the video a like and please subscribe. Most of my videos aren't for cooking, they're explaining the neurology in my head, but today we just want to do something different for the upcoming Cinco de Mayo. So thank you all for watching and have a fantastic day.
Oh. God, that sure could.